Over to Chicago now, where a judge on Thursday acquitted 3 Chicago police officers of trying to cover up the 2014 fatal shooting of Laquan Mcdonald, ruling that the shocking dash cam video of the incident did not tell the whole story. Police say McDonald lunged towards officers with a knife in hand, but dash cam footage of that incident appears to show him walking away. The ruling is outraging activists and religious leaders in the city. Police officials are wary of this public unrest. So to discuss, we're being joined now by retired D.C. Metro Police Officer Ronald Hampton. Ron, thanks for being with us again today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So 3 Chicago PD officers were found not guilty of attempting to cover up this fatal shooting. They were charged with obstruction of justice, official misconduct, and conspiracy. Now, what's the bar of burden of proof that the state has to prove in order to have found them guilty?
Well, I think they probably did. They had information, they had their actions, they had paperwork, reports that they had filed in reference to the incident, because everyone that was involved in the incident had to write a statement. So they have that information, or they wouldn't have charged them with conspiracy to cover up and all of the charges that were levied on them. I'm very surprised that they didn't, because that was a key component of the whole thing, not just in terms of the officer shooting McDonald, but the whole process of what went down. And I can understand the disappointment. And too, that's part of the problem with the culture of policing as we talk about accountability.
And like you said, you were surprised that these 3 guys were found not guilty. However, the officer who did fire the fatal shots, Jason Van Dyke, he, on the other hand, was found guilty of second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated assault, one for each time he fired. He's the first officer to be found guilty on such charges in at least 50 years. First, do you think this was a fair verdict? And also, if you can explain second-degree murder to us, why not murder 1?
Absolutely. I think it was a fair in the sense that they charged him, and there wasn't too many charges. The reason I think they went with the 16 counts of aggravated and murder 2 was because murder 1 was a level of premeditation and this whole idea that he meant to do what he did. Because I guess his defense was that and it was his defense, that somehow or another that McDonald represented a threat to him. So going after the second-degree murder, which meant that there were circumstances that mitigated the situation, and then the manslaughter for each one of the counts that he shot him, then you end up getting the amount of time that he should, because he should spend the rest of his life in jail. I don't know exactly how much time he has now or he's gotten as a result of the guilty plea.
We're still waiting. It's happening right now. So
that's exactly right. So, but if it comes out based on what the charges was, that he's going to be in jail probably for the rest of his life. But because murder 1 was going to be too much for them of a burden to prove, and so they went with the lesser charge.
Gotcha. So at least to hold him accountable for something.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the walkaway is not getting the 3 guys, because the culture is the problem, and that culture of cover-up, that culture of being able to cover up and lie and conspire. Right,
the culture of protect your brother in blue.
Yes, ma'am.
Because from my understanding, their reports, as you say, after any incident, the policemen have to file a report.
That's right.
And so their reports seem to corroborate what Van Dyke claimed.
That's exactly right.
But the video said
proved
something else.
Altogether different. And then the fact that the video was so late coming out, and all of this went on with the consent of other people in the city officials that knew what was on the video, because I can't imagine that they hadn't looked at the video and knew what exactly was going on.
This is entrenched in the system.
Absolutely. So there's going to have to be some continuing service, because Chicago has a history of these type of incidents.
And now, Laquan Mcdonald was just a 17-year-old kid. Obviously, if this weren't all caught on dash cam, we might be seeing a completely different outcome. But this is something that the African-American community has criticized police about for years, decades. In your professional experience, do you see a need for major reforms on how police handle certain communities and communities of color?
Absolutely. And I mean, if there's probably been and has been some attempt to bridge that gap, and they're working on it. It's something that's taking place all of the time. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of work still to be done, because there have been a number of incidents before McDonald and even after McDonald. And we are still at that point where we're trying to improve the relationship between African Americans, the police department, as well as the Hispanic community. And so we still have a lot of work to do, but this is a victory in the sense that this officer is found guilty and going to be given time, or is being given time, even though the other three are going to walk. But we need to have some victories, or there should be some victories in the struggle that we're waging against law enforcement. At
least the man who pulled the trigger will spend his life likely behind bars. And like you said, McDonald's not the first, and probably, unfortunately, not the last. So a long ways to go. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Ron Hampton.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.